Everything we know is wrong. In 1971, the USS Trepang took a series of photos supposedly showing several UFO above the surface of the sea and also being engaged with weapons. It was then debunked after one of the images was shown to be photoshopped. The big problem is that the other photos were real and showed real alien craft and structures. And I'm going to show you why they are real, how they link to an incident in Italy in 1979, the alien structures on the moon, and that the fake image was used to cover up the whole incident. What is worse is that the USS Trepang and its crew may have had a very sinister mission in that cold Arctic Sea. Welcome to the channel. I'm not real. Put on your thermal underwear and zip up your fur-lined jacket. Let's go look at stuff.
Anthrax locks.
It was a cold morning sometime in the early spring of 1971, and the nuclear attack submarine USS Trepang was at periscope depth and on the hunt. Through the Arctic mist, Commander Dean R. Sackett Jr. could see his target silhouetted above the freezing water and gave the order to close the distance. For weeks, they had stayed hidden not far from the frigid and unwelcoming Jan Island. This was what they had been waiting and training for. A black shape glided silently and impossibly in the air, with another in the water nearby. Through the periscope, the commander could see several more menacing shapes advancing on their position. Seconds later, all hell broke loose as the Trepang opened fire and the targets exploded, sending violent shockwaves which rocked the submarine. The commander could see the remaining black forms retreat back into the fog. The mission was a success, and they had got what they came for. The USS Trepang incident is a very well-known case, and the photos are spectacular. There is zero dispute that the USS Trepang, which is a U.S. Navy submarine, was in the area of Jan Island in 1971 and was conducting live fire tests. All this was fact-checked and confirmed by John Greenwald of the Black Vault and posted on his website, which you can check yourselves in the link below. The Black Vault, however, concluded with very flimsy evidence, I might add, that the UFO or UAP were target balloons without, however, providing any examples of similar targets to back this up. Apart from a few images from the early 1900s that bear no resemblance to the 1971 images. The biggest weapon that the skeptics had was the most spectacular image of the set. It has clear evidence of being tampered with, and parts of the image obviously cloned. It is also the only image of the set that did not have any visual indication of a periscope, which I find very suspicious. On a hunch, I did some very simple enhancements to those other images, and the results were shocking. Please feel free to pause the video if you need a closer look. This cylinder has an opening at the front and this odd feature poking out. As you can see here, there are clear structures on top of this cylinder-shaped craft. I'm going to call them exactly what they are. These are non-human alien craft and structures. Even with my very basic understanding of physics, I know that if heavy components are placed on top of a balloon, it will roll until they face downward. It is also segmented into two parts, as you can see here. This is definitely not a balloon. On top of the craft is this bizarre form, which is surrounded by a quite unnatural-looking plume of smoke. Is there an even bigger megastructure or craft hidden in that plume? This type of UFO has been seen before in the Sesuni incident in 1979, when a cylinder-shaped craft was photographed over Treviso Air Base. It, too, had eerily similar structures on top near its frontal section. The second cylinder image has a different structure to the first, as you can see here. The third is highly reflective, to the point some details of what is behind the photographer are visible. The most interesting of all is the tower that seems to be getting blown out of the water. I think this is precisely what happened. If we look closer, structural components can be seen on its right side. I have seen this before, and incredibly, it was on the moon. This structure on the lunar near side, imaged by the NASA WAC camera, is eerily similar. How is this a target balloon? There is no logical reason to make it this elaborate if it is made to be destroyed. The actual water itself presented another issue. In these photos, the water is exactly how it should look, but not in these pictures. Since when did waves at sea have sharp right angles in multiple places, and not just one place as a result of some freakish event? There also appear to be structures and a solidity that just looks unnatural. It is difficult to establish fully, but to me, this looks like fake water, possibly as part of a camouflaged alien base. When I say fake water, I mean that from a distance, all those alien structures will look like the surface of the ocean, and here it does look like the sun glinting off the sea. However, each single white element in these images is a solid alien construction. This has been seen before, and most notably here close to Deception Island in the Antarctic. As you can see here, there has been an attempt to hide this huge sprawling alien base, but thankfully they missed this section. From a distance, this too has the appearance of sunlight glittering on the sea. But if we look closer, there are structures everywhere and a very visible dome and defense turret. This covers several miles in just this section alone, and I have no idea how far this extends beyond the blurred-out section. Lastly, we cannot ignore the amazing triangular-shaped craft floating majestically above yet more alien structures. This huge ship is breathtaking. Using artificial intelligence, I have brought it to life as it possibly would have looked that day. Based on the evidence I am seeing, I think what transpired here was that the USS Trepang was on a mission to take out that alien base and tower, and it wasn't for a dinner date and coffee afterwards. Those UFO were also in the vicinity at the time, but did not engage the submarine because they either couldn't or wouldn't. The crew lived to tell their version of the tale, which was the live fire test cover story. If we dive deeper into this, it may have been that someone was about to leak the pictures. The photoshopped image, which may have originally been an actual UFO, was then added to the mix, and it has very successfully been used as a tool to debunk the real pictures ever since. The missing periscope is evidence it likely never belonged to that group of images. Alternatively, it may have been just plain old disinformation or part of a controlled disclosure effort. This is where a truth is leaked to get our interest. When we are hooked, they pull it all back in the end. Often, the lie has been embedded from the very start. This is all to get the public used to the idea of aliens, but without them appearing to be an actual reality and subsequent threat. A few simple contrast enhancements clearly show those are in no way military target balloons. It is also no surprise that there was an alien base at Jan Mayen Island. It is very remote, and like Bouvet Island in the Antarctic, which also has an alien presence, it is rarely visited. Few can land, and only with special permissions. There may have been a larger presence in the past, but as you can see here, they have retreated to the more inaccessible areas that humans seldom visit. Bouvet Island confirms that there has been peaceful contact between humans and aliens. Maybe the Jan Mayen aliens just weren't playing ball or broke some agreement. Perhaps there was an even darker purpose, and that sub was there to try and acquire alien technology. How often does this sort of violent encounter happen, and we just don't hear about it? The biggest takeaway from this is that we should question everything and just look a little closer with our own eyes. Image enhancement tools should be your best friend. Obviously, these are swamp gas, weather balloons. I'm misconstruing the data, being silly, not looking at the images in the right way. I'm not saying it's really cold aliens, but it's really cold aliens. Thank you for watching. If you want to see more of this malarkey, please like, share, and subscribe. Remember, the time for disclosure is now. I'll see you again soon.
Me. Yao?